กด subscribe ให้พวกเราด้วยนะคะ
Saudi Krap. Welcome and thanks for joining. So today we figured we'd take the time to answer a few questions about banking in Canada. You might have a lot of questions, you might know a little bit, you might not know anything about banking in Canada, and you might also think, well, maybe it's just the same as US banking and you have experience there. Actually, the Canadian banking system is pretty unique. Well, the products are the same. The industry is a lot different, and we'll answer some questions, the most common questions people have today about banking in Canada in general. So check it out. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification button. You won't miss videos from us. In Canada, we have 5 major banks that are all across the country. Most of these 5 banks, if you are in a relatively big city, all 5 of them will be in those cities. So for instance, a city like Saskatoon, between 200, 300,000 people, we have multiple locations of all those big 5 banks. So in addition to those main 5 banks in Canada, each province has their own financial institution, mostly known as credit unions, provincial credit unions. They might operate all across the province. They might operate just in specific cities. A lot of them will even operate in very small communities, depending on where you are. Further to that, we also have many online kind of only digital banks. Some of these are owned by the big banks and just are their online components, and some of them are kind of going off on their own and doing their own thing. So the main difference with these, sometimes, they might have lower fees, but they don't have any in-person locations. So, one of the biggest questions is likely, what makes sense for you and what really should you choose? So we'll try our best to walk you through and answer some of those questions today. Before we go into maybe who we'd recommend to choose to bank with or the possible options, let's walk through those big 5 brands in Canada. The 2 largest in Canada, first is the Royal Bank of Canada, or RBC, and TD Canada Trust, or simply TD. The next 3, also part of the big 5, but slightly less big, are CIBC, BMO, or Bank of Montreal. That's the same, BMO, BMO, it goes by. And then there's Scotiabank. So those 5 make up the big 5 banks all across Canada. Depending on what province you go to, but you'll have different options. But one of your main questions as someone coming to Canada is, where should I bank and why? And, it does come down to your personal circumstances and what you're really needing. Do you want a location that's close by if you need in-person help? Do you want to just do everything online? These are 2 big questions that can help you decide. But specifically with the big 5 banks that we mentioned, one of the biggest, benefits for them right now is that all 5 of them offer their own kind of newcomer, new to Canada program that not only try to target new PR, new temporary worker, but also international students. So they'll have specific offers or accounts that maybe, cut the fees for a year, your monthly account fees for a year, and really try to, attract you to their brand. We'll actually put the links to those 5 new to Canada programs in the description. One thing I will recommend, you might see these offers, like I just looked this morning, and it looks like a number of them are offering, get $400 to set up an account, stuff like that. Just in any contract, banking in particular, make sure to read the terms and conditions. It's not always maybe as exciting as what you might be reading right on the website. What do most people need, especially if you're here temporarily, you're not sure how long you'll be here? What are kind of the most common accounts to have? There are 3. And each of the banks, including all the provincial credit unions, will have these options. So one is checking account. You can think about your checking account as your day-to-day banking account. It's where money comes in, any money that you earn if you're working or you have some sort of arrangement with your educational institution. It's where money goes out if you're making a payment or paying a bill. The checking account is your kind of day-to-day account. These accounts in Canada come with a debit card or member card, these types of things where you can pay at a store, a gas station, groceries, wherever. You put your card in the machine and this is a payment option, and that comes out of your checking account. And these debit cards now in Canada are transitioning to a Visa or MasterCard debit as well. So again, this money still comes directly out of your checking account, but having it be also on the Visa or MasterCard networks enables you to also online shop with these cards. So essentially, it functions the same as a credit card in terms of how it allows you to pay for things. It just doesn't come with maybe the rewards aspect or the credit building aspect. And that brings me, I guess, to the second point, which is credit cards. This may or may not be a good option for you. I will say that all of the big banks and many smaller ones are really trying to offer credit cards to new Canadians. Generally, with a credit card, you need North American credit history. However, you can get an offer for a very low limit credit card, $500 per month, etc., or a credit card that's secured by a savings account. What a credit card does is, again, it allows you to, it's a payment method. You pay in store, you pay online, but one of the biggest benefits is often credit cards are associated with rewards, which might be travel, cash back every year. Some credit cards offer, when you build points, spend them at Amazon, spend them at various different stores. If you do have plans to stay in Canada long term, getting a low limit credit card and starting to build your North American credit history by, getting a credit card, making your payments, full payments on time. This is one of the best ways to develop your North American credit history, which down the road in Canada helps for things if you ever are thinking of buying a home, getting a loan for a car, these types of things. A low limit credit card is one of the best places to start. And the two main credit cards people have are Visa and MasterCard. Third main account, savings account. So again, it does function similar to a checking account. It's just generally this type of account is where you store any extra money. You don't need to move around a lot. All the banks, institutions, credit unions, they all have online and mobile banking such that you can move money between accounts as needed. But really the purpose of the savings account is you're not necessarily having money go in and out on a daily basis. So a lot of the transaction limits associated with those accounts are lower than that of a checking account, the account fees. So for things like checking accounts, generally most financial institutions in Canada do charge monthly fees for having a checking account. These come, there's a variety of different options and levels of the checking account depending on how much you're using it. Certain transaction maximums per month, like how many you can use every month without being charged more, stuff like that. But the good news is a lot of the new to Canada programs waive those monthly fees for a year, some 2 years, depending on the current offer. So like I said, check out those links we provided. They can help you decide what might be best for you. Further to that, which would be the savings account, generally those are all free accounts. You just can't, again, be moving money out of it daily because they have a very low monthly transaction limit. If you go over that, fees can be incurred. The credit card fees, generally the consumer, you and I, don't pay fees on our credit card other than an annual or monthly fee. But there are many free, no-fee credit cards. Some of the higher fee ones are associated with ones that allow you to earn, pretty valuable rewards for travel, for shopping, etc. So many no-fee options, and mostly those lower limit cards that maybe you'll start out with depending on your circumstance. Those will be a free annual card, so no extra payment there. I also think it's pretty important to talk about payments in Canada, especially as I know in Thailand, cash is still a very popular payment method. But in Canada and North America in general, most, if not all places still accept cash, but I would say the majority of Canadians are paying in store online with credit cards and debit cards. So either or, with credit cards becoming slightly more popular. So regardless, even if you're paying for $3, $4, $5 coffee at Starbucks or a local coffee shop, people are pulling out their credit card, their debit card, and they're making their payment with these. So it's very, especially among the younger generations, very rare are people carrying a lot of Canadian cash in their wallets. Another thing to know is the Canadian banking system, it operates on the Interac network. And the only reason that's important is between Canadian institutions, whether it's a big bank, an online bank, a provincial credit union, we can send money to other account holders using an Interac e-transfer. All banks use this. It's an online money transfer that goes from a Canadian institution to another one. Your online banking or your mobile banking app will allow you to do this. Often, say you go for dinner with a friend and they pick up the tab, or you're splitting dinner and you need to send your friend money. This is how we do it within Canada. Or you purchase something on Facebook Marketplace, for instance, a used item to furnish your apartment. Often Interac e-transfer is one of the main ways to pay. Big thing to consider when choosing the bank you'll use in Canada. For some of you might be the international money transfer. You want to send and receive money. That might be a consideration for you. So one good thing to know is that all the big five banks, and including most of the smaller provincial and online banks, do have the international wire transfer option. However, there's a few banks in Canada that have started using a very, very convenient service for international transfer known as Visa Direct. I actually know Dewey is one of her reasons for choosing TD in Canada was the Visa Direct option. And this really enables the cardholder, whether it's a Visa debit card or a Visa credit card, to send money from their checking account to another Visa card holder. I think it's in 80 to 100 countries all over the world. So the reason this is beneficial compared to the traditional wire is because it goes into their account pretty much immediately, within seconds, just like transferring within country in Thailand. So this might be a convenient option. I know for sure that TD and CIBC are both offering this right now. So another thing to note is that within Canada, there are many fintechs, or what are known as financial technology companies, that are creating like businesses out of one or a couple components of banking. So one I want to mention on the international transfer front, they used to be called TransferWise, and now they're simply known as Wise. So this is a fintech which would just operate through a mobile app. This would be probably right now, don't quote me on this, but I think the very cheapest option to do the traditional wire. So you do have that option as well. You don't necessarily have to do every function at the same bank. A lot of people have a couple banks, 3, 4, it's really what works best for the individual. My opinion, though, is to try to, minimize the fees you pay. So sometimes dealing with one institution may allow you to do that. That covers just the basics of starting banking in Canada. Like I said, any institution will be able to kind of help you get started. One thing I'll mention, if you do have any other questions or comments about banking in Canada, I actually do work in product development for a local credit union, Affinity. So feel free to ask me in the comments. And really, if you are coming to Saskatchewan in about a year, we'll have our own New to Canada program for you to check out. So be on the lookout for that if you are coming to our province. Good luck if you are planning on coming to Canada. Reach out, let us know what you thought. Subscribe, like, share. Sawadee krap. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.